You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your number one source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Gene. Johnson.
The AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AfterBuzz TV's Almost Human After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's Almost Human After Show.
Hey there, human fans. We're here doing the AfterBuzz TV After Show for Almost Human. This is episode 106, Arrhythmia. I am Matt Lieberman. Joining me on the panel, as always, we have the fabulous and talented Miss Megan Salinas.
Hey, everybody.
The fantastic and hilarious Mr. Ryan Hooks.
Hey, Ryan Hooks.
And the brilliant Mr. Zach Wilson.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Yes. All right. So, we had an episode. I personally, I liked it a lot. It was the first of our back episodes. The show's been aired out of order. So we saw episodes 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And now tonight we watched technically episode 3. What did y'all think of it?
I thought it was great. Speaking of the episodes being out of order, I actually am going to side with airing it this way. I thought it was great where it landed. I like the return to the gruffness between their relationship, that it's like, I like that it comes back to it here as opposed to just bouncing back and forth. And it was just a solid episode.
I agree. I think it was a solid episode. I personally would have liked to have seen it a couple weeks ago. I'm on the opposite side. I like them being more buddy cop. It was kind of weird to see them go from being buddy cop to going back and having a step back in their relationship. That's just me, though.
Yeah. I thought so too. I thought there was a weird, disjointed feel between Dorian and Kennex, but that was the only thing that I didn't like about this episode in terms of the disjointed order.
Yeah,
so go ahead and say
it was pretty
You're
solid.
right, Ryan Hooks. You are right. That was a good call. Everyone can say it now.
No.
Never.
The funny thing about it, though, is if you look at the dialogue itself isn't that different, I think, than what it would have been if this episode was in sequence. They just played it differently. I feel like the jokes were still of a similar type. It was jarring to have them be a little more gruff together, but I also think that a concept as big as meeting another DRN is something that was a bit too big to be introduced that early in the series.
Yes, I definitely agree. It was great to draw that out. I don't think we would want to deal with that so quickly because it's such a major point in Dorian's life.
Yeah, right. It's a big deal, and you can't take that first encounter back. So I'm excited to see it, and the implications of what it opened up, I personally really enjoyed. Now, that's another thing, right? So you have his moment with the female bot in skin who had the human DNA imprinted on her skin. I don't think that moment would have had the level of power that it did if he had met a version of himself the week before. It feels like a step down. Even though she was being decommissioned, this DRN 494, as we learned from the subtitles, is his designation. DRN 494 is just going back to work, and he gets this happy ending. He gets to remember this little boy. Oh, what an awesome scene. We'll talk more about it later.
And I think, too, with the episodes in order or out of order, one thing that we do have in this episode that's been consistent is Dorian doing things that are human-like for other people. Yeah. He's taking extra steps to help people, whether they're robots or whether they're androids or whether they're people. He's doing things for someone else.
Yeah, he has a good heart, robotic or regular. He's very altruistic. He's empathetic. Mm-hmm. He can sense, what people need or what they're feeling. He might not have the words or experiences to describe it, but he can sense need, and he's really good at helping people out in that regard.
I liked seeing that. The only complaint I have about that is that after last week's van flip, I wanted to move forward from there, so it was kind of
Well, how terrified were you when DRN 494 just gunned it across the street and
just
grabbed
that guy.
dude? Yeah. I thought, oh my God, this is one of the crazy ones. He's
well,
going to rip him open.
Well, he might be. I mean, they introduced the Luger test.
Yes.
Now, and so we know a little bit more about the decommissioning of the DRNs, which is something I've personally been super curious about.
Me too.
And so this is the litmus test for, are you a crazy DRN?
Right. And really, we don't know much about it. We know that Dorian thinks that it was a bit skewed. It's the reason why he got decommissioned. You know, he failed the Luger test. This synthetic guy.
Dorian didn't fail it, right? It was the other guy failed it, right? But
he was also decommissioned.
He was decommissioned because they decided to decommission all of them because a number of them had failed the test. I think was the reason.
I was a little bit unclear when they say decommissioned. I assume that means just shut down and taken off the market, not put to another use.
Right.
So I'm not sure. Did 494 pass or fail?
That's what I'm thinking is like, well, first of all, he doesn't know why he was decommissioned. He said decommissioned. He's no longer a cop. But there's two ways to take it, right? Either he passed the Luger test and therefore was able to continue working in society, just not as a cop, because people didn't feel safe with these potentially quote-unquote crazy androids running around. Or he failed the test, and Dorian passed the test, and that's why he was still potentially able to be used by the police.
He's been repurposed, basically, as a tech at the hospital.
Right.
Wherever he's working at.
Whereas if Dorian passed it, that's why he was still able to be used by police under extreme circumstances.
Or we're waiting to find out that maybe Dorian did not pass it and there's something else going on there.
Yeah.
That could be an interesting twist.
Yeah, and that was very interesting to hear about Dorian talk about, moments before getting decommissioned. Again, we don't know whether or not he passed the test, but we know how he felt right before he went to sleep. He's like, am I ever going to wake up again?
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk a lot about this a little later on the show. I want to just talk about our big A plot for the moment. We have this organ transplant caper. It's a bit like the movie In Time, where people, and maybe that's another reason why they delayed this episode, is like, oh, this feels a little familiar. Maybe just give some time for people to love the show before we introduce something that they might be like, hey, you're ripping them off.
I was having Elysium flashbacks.
As opposed to an episode of, Die Hard.
There's a lot that's familiar in this series, but it's different enough that we can still enjoy it.
Plus, everyone rips off Die Hard. That's allowed. That's a given now.
Even Hans Gruber rips it off, right?
Yeah, exactly. What?
That was a comment for Megan.
Okay.
For her love of Hans Gruber.
Okay.
Who doesn't love Hans Gruber?
Everyone loves Hans Gruber. Anyone, if you ever get a dachshund, name him Hans Gruber. It's the best name for a German dog. Zavina dog shall be named Hans Gruber. Anyway, and also Hans Gruber was so not German. Decidedly besides the point. So we have this guy, Mr. Lee. He bursts into this hospital, gun drawn. He's demanding immediate heart surgery, or else he'll die. His robotic heart shuts down, and he's over. And we have all of these aftermarket artificial hearts and limbs and things that are being repurposed by this shady cabal of people who are regularly extorting people to keep them alive. And it's a brilliant scheme. Brilliant scheme.
Why not?
Yeah.
They're just throwing them away anyway, right?
Right. So why not put them to use?
Just because something is old doesn't mean you should throw it away.
Exactly.
Quote of the day.
I know. Well,
see that twinkle in Dorian's eye when they said that?
Yeah. Well, that's something else that we're going to talk about, because there were some really strong themes in this episode, and that's one of the reasons why I like it so much. But we're following this around. We got this shady guy at the crematorium. We've got our suspect at the artificial at Vestral.
It was Vastral.
Vastral.
Tell us what it was, because neither of us.
It was Vastral. It was Vastral. She's just like, whatever. They find out that all these people have these hearts, and shit, we gotta save them. And then as soon as the bad people find out, I'm explaining this beautifully because
this guy did that thing with this girl, and that girl went over here, and that guy did the thing with the hearts.
I mean, you basically got a protection racket being run by the assistant to the CEO of a big biomedical corporation.
Right, and we're given this moment where when they save this woman who's about to get this heart that has these little radio frequency things that help shut it off in it. She's like, you didn't save me. I wanted to spend, just a few more days with my family, more time with my family. Wouldn't you do the same? How much would you pay? Which is like a very interesting point. How much would you pay to spend more time on this planet?
How far would you go to save yourself?
Yeah.
Same theme as last week.
Nobody messes with my coffee maker.
I mean, it's what it boils down to is a great comparison to today's issue of health insurance. Like, we're going through all that. I'm dealing with all that stuff right now.
Yeah. How's that going?
Website's still shut down.
Crap.
Yeah. But what it ends up being is like, how do we heal those who can't pay?
Yeah.
Like, who's to say this person's life is more valuable than this person's just because they have more money? They have the technology, and the cremator makes a great point when he's talking about these things are just going to be destroyed.
Yeah.
These things have the potential to save lives, and the law says I have to destroy it.
So that this company can make more money by selling fresh ones.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'd be with him on that if he wasn't an extorting jerk.
Oh, yeah. Well, you saw that moment where he almost reached for the switch to reset him. And I'm like, do it, bro.
Just do it all. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I cursed when he walked away. I was like, God.
End commercial. Ah!
Who else knew it was going to be the assistant? I totally called it.
Yeah, he gave up they didn't even have to pressure him. He was just like, oh, here's all the information that you need about this.
No, it was the lady.
Oh, the assistant.
The assistant at
She was
not
the mastermind.
cremation guy.
She
She had access to the lists. And
Yeah, she was the
She's like,
mastermind.
if I go down, you go down with me.
And he was like, oh, yeah. And then he totally murders her and cleans her house. But he didn't clean up his cleaning products, loser. He totally could do so much better than that, and he didn't. And that's why
that's why he burns the bodies and not murders them and cleans them.
Yeah, I know. How sweet was that cremation machine anyway? Yeah. It was neat as hell. But it also, you're burning plastic? That can't be good for the environment.
That's why it was enclosed in that case. And
I know.
Well, there's a lot of things that go on in this world that it's like, that's probably not environmentally sound.
Right?
Or frugal, like pushing Amexes out of a moving vehicle. That's not
Oh, we had
responsible.
another MX fatality this
Do you have
week.
any idea how much those cost?
Oh, I love Maldonado's Kennex.
all right. So going back to that as well, when we talked about Dorian and his super truck flipping strength, he did have a moment in this episode where he busted through the wall.
Yeah.
Remember
That
when he
was cool.
scanned the building and came through? So I'm kind of surprised now that he was so surprised when he flipped the truck. Because if this was episode 2 or 3 and he busts through the wall like that, then why?
A wall, a moving
It's
truck.
plaster.
Yeah, it's plaster. Yeah. If you tried hard enough,
I could probably bust through
you
the wall
could
too.
bust through a wall. If you punched hard enough.
The wall might hurt you a little bit, but you
Right.
could probably get through.
Right, like you might have some stitches, whatever. But flipping a truck requires serious strength.
While chasing it down.
While chasing it down on your super legs.
And it also, there was like this weird noise, like he charged up before he hit it, and then like,
Yeah.
and Kameha. No, but yeah, so I think it was more just he didn't mean to hit it with that much strength, and it was just like, whoa, what just happened?
And I think that's shocking to anybody. Like, when you accidentally hurt someone, if that's ever happened to you, you accidentally hurt someone really bad, you don't know your own strength. That freaks you out.
And he accidentally knocked over a van and it blew up, killing 3 people.
Yeah, clones, but still, yeah, people. Well, that's, almost human. It's the theme of the show.
Debatable.
Debatable theme of the show. I just want to talk really quickly about iTunes before we jump into the meat of our conversation. Folks, thanks to all of you who have reached out on the iTunes, on the YouTube, on the Twitter. We love our fans. We're number 1 again this week.
Boom.
Which is the Rad Badicalist. We love your support. But here's the deal, folks. we still have a okay, not great number of iTunes reviews and ratings. We could do so much better, and we need your help to make this happen. AfterBuzz TV puts out 50 to 60 hours of content a week. Free content. This is a free podcast. You get to download it for free and enjoy it on the road or on the subway, at the gym, at work, wherever you listen to it, even at home. Some
Sitting in
people
traffic on the 101.
Yeah. Some
That's where I
people
listen.
even listen to podcasts while they cook. That's what I do, But you get it for free. We do it for free. What can you do to help us? Because we do this service for you. Here's what you do. You open your iTunes, you go to the iTunes store, you slap us with a 5-star rating, maybe throw us a nice little review, let us know what you like about the show, maybe what you don't, what could we fix, what are we missing, is there a point that we're just not making? You can tell us. We want to know. So it would really help us out. It keeps the show searchable. We want to be the #1 Almost Human podcast on the web. It also helps our bosses know that we're doing a good job. And we want them to know. Because, I think we are doing it.
We want to help you, help us, help you.
Yeah, we could
Something
go
like
down
that.
a rabbit hole of help you, help us, or we could keep talking about the show. But again, thank you for all your support.
While we're on it, quick shout out to Hanko9, Twitter, reached out to us about some comments on the show from last week's episode.
Love Hanko9. He runs the Google Plus circle for Almost Human and for several other shows. Very, very nice dude. Highly recommend you follow him on Google Plus.
I think that's a good idea.
Some other people we just wanted to shout out from YouTube who commented, and we appreciate that. Diane Sutherland, you were wondering when the show was going to go up. It's going up right now.
It's going up right now.
Thank you for
Coming at
watching
ya.
and being so excited that you can't wait. Free to be saying, I love that you go so deep in the discussions. Great show as always. We love to hear that. We love to hear
last
that
week
you
was
are
pretty
enjoying
Yeah.
it.
Every AfterBuzz show is different. Every podcast is different. I think that we all think this show merits a deeper discussion of theme, of allegory, of technology and morality. It's, that's what the best science fiction does, is it opens up these issues for intense conversation. So let's get into it. So we had Dorian and we had DRN494, who is another DRN, the first other one that we've ever met, and he's working as a tech at this hospital. He's just repairing stuff. All of his potential wasted on repairs, and all he wants to do is be a cop. And Dorian, perhaps without thinking, throws him in the car. Time for a ride along, and we're able to see what being an android is like through this other guy's eyes. This DRN who's not able to do what he was born to do, really. Born, built, whatever. And it sucks for him. He's not happy.
Yeah, he's trapped.
Yeah, he's trapped. He never wanted to be a lab tech. As Dorian puts it, all I want to do is be a cop. I just want to be a good cop. And the fact that they put me to sleep was painful, and the only thought that I had was, God, I hope there's someone to wake me up. And that person was you. And it kind of explains why, even though Kennex puts up such a front for the majority of these early episodes, Dorian is just so grateful to be awake again.
He's almost looking at him like, in that moment, almost like a father.
Yeah.
bit.
A little bit of a savior complex. Like, I could have been asleep forever. I could have been taken apart, but you woke me up and allow me to do my purpose again.
That might be one of the reasons why he's always got a smile on and why he's always joking. He's
so
just so
nice to him.
happy.
Yeah.
He's just so happy to be doing what he was meant to do. Again.
Sure, it's been years since he was awake.
Yeah, and you can see it, and on DRN494, you can see the look of like the pride he took when he starts talking about his work. Like there's a recognition when he's talking about police work. He loved it, and if you've ever been in a place in your life where you've been struggling, and then you think back to somebody starts talking to you about something that was great, a great point in your life, you think about it, and you can see it on your face.
Yeah,
and you could see it on 494.
Yeah, and you again getting into the synthetic soul. And, there's this whole issue, you were talking about it before the show, Zach, of nature versus nurture.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I notice is that 494 has very different habits than Dorian. He starts doing the thing at the window.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just did that in all of your ears. But but it was but then Dorian picks it up to mess with Kennex a lot, but it wasn't something he had done before. And these two beings who are created with the exact same programming, down to the ones and zeros, they are the same, form different habits based on what happened to them as they existed.
Yeah, and they talk a little bit differently. They consider things a little bit differently. Dorian is funnier. He leans on humor a lot more versus DRN 494. You know, he's a lot more colloquial, but he's also
man.
Yeah, he kept saying man. He kept leaning on his colloquialisms routine, but he also, I feel like, was a little more timid. He isn't as easy. He isn't as easygoing as Dorian. I feel like we don't know what happened between when all of them got decommissioned and when he got his case files taken away. And who knows what other memories besides his files were robbed, were taken.
Yeah, he refused to take a gun. He was like, I'm terrified. So we don't know what happened to him.
As I've said several times in the past episodes, I'm waiting to see the moment where they have one of these emotional breakdowns. And I was watching this episode thinking, this could be the point when they actually show a DRN having an emotional breakdown, because that would explain why they didn't comment on later facts, because it didn't actually happen to Dorian. It happened to somebody exactly like Dorian. But then when he was trying to give him the gun, I was like, oh, this is it. This is going to happen. And then he doesn't take the gun.
Well, see, I loved that he didn't take the gun and that he said he was terrified. And was this before or after he told the story about killing the man and the little boy?
I think it was before, because I think that story came a little later.
Okay. Well, even though he saved this boy and he had this incredible human moment with him, I think taking a life freaked DRN 494 out a lot. And it might be the key reason why he was decommissioned. He broke protocol. These androids were built to serve a function. The fact that they are able to break protocol, even going back to Asimov and his 3 laws of robotics. A robot that cannot follow its programming or willfully chooses not to follow it is a danger to all the people around it, even if they're meaning to do the right thing, even if they are actively doing the right thing.
And we've seen this with Dorian in several episodes before, because when they were going into that one building, he's like, let's go. And Kennex is like, let's go. And everyone else is like, you must wait. The MX units were telling him to stop. And Dorian chose to go in with Kennex first.
Yeah.
Well, they talk about the DRNs being crazy or being unstable. It basically, they're human. They make mistakes. They make judgment calls that are debatable.
They have opinions.
And they have to live with the guilt when those decisions don't turn out right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't take the gun, I think, in large part to when he tackled the guy and he was wrong. He makes him gun shy. Literally, yeah. Well, that's when you have that much strength, when you have that much power. Think about, Dorian, how shocked he was when he flipped that van, right? Imagine him making a big mistake and taking a life, and knowing what you're capable of has to be even more horrifying. Because if you feel like a person and you empathize with other people like a person, to take a life is a huge deal. And to be, able to take a life at any moment's notice, to have this strength and this speed and be such a danger to all these people around you, people that you actively love. Because I feel like these DRNs love people. Yep.
Yeah,
That's got to be a really horrifying thing to realize. And you don't have an adolescence to grow up and come to terms with who you are and what you're capable of. They're just made, they're activated, and then they just have to deal with being alive. I sometimes say this, and I know that this is kind of like getting into like hippy-dippy territory, but I feel like we spend a lot of our lives getting over the shock of being born. You don't ask to be born. You don't think about it. Just there's a moment, and you're in a womb, and you're not really sensing anything, and then all of a sudden, sensory overload, and you're in the world, and you're breathing oxygen, you're hearing noise, and somebody slaps you on the ass. You get wrapped in a blanket. And then you get put in a little plastic tub while you for a couple of days while you kind of like get used to being alive. And I feel like we spend the majority of our time on Earth getting over the fact that we were born at all and trying to figure out why we were here. So imagine never having, say, 18 years to try to figure it out before you're thrust in the
30.
Yeah, 50, 70, before you're thrust into the world and forced to figure out how to live and how to survive. And you're just activated and you're given a purpose, and then someone takes it away from you.
And Dorian's like 3, like they said, right? That he was served for like 3 years.
He's like 3 years old.
3.5. 4.
Yeah.
It also raises the point that we all go through that phase of, we all go through that. What am I on this earth to do? What do I want to do with my life?
Who am I?
Yeah, exactly. But these guys, they know what they're here for.
Was that a reference to Doctor Who, the movie?
Oh, God.
That, and there's also an episode of Scrubs where there's a tackling Alzheimer's patient. Who am I? And he tackles people.
Back to this show.
Sorry.
It's a good aside. If we're going to go to an aside.
Thank you.
Doctor Who is always a fun place to go.
Yes. But for those of our audience who don't watch Doctor Who, let's talk about this show. What was your point, Zach?
I don't even remember.
Who am I?
We all go through this "Who am I?" phase.
Okay, but
Sorry.
no, just like he's 3 years old. He was given a purpose, and then he was informed by the people who gave him that purpose, who effectively birthed him, that he is no longer qualified to do that job. And then he was put to sleep, and there was nothing he could do about it. You know, like the fact that he hasn't gone nuts, you know, right now, I think is kind of remarkable because it's a lot to deal with. And maybe I'm giving him too much credit. I mean, let us know in the comments, are we giving him too much credit? You know, like, because while he has a synthetic soul, we don't know what capacity he has for feeling and for fear and for love. I feel like it's got to be,
based on what they've shown, more than anyone else in the show. Like, he's got more compassion and more empathy and more feeling than any of the characters that we've established.
Yeah.
So
What I don't want to get too off track with like predictions and conspiracies or anything yet, but like we still don't know why some of these DRNs went crazy in the first place. Was it because of the emotional burden, or is this something where in Syndicate is playing a part?
Here's the thing. I'm starting to believe, based on what we saw this week and how Dorian talked about the Luger test, that the DRNs didn't go crazy at all, and that they realized that the Luger test, something was wrong, or that they were being corrupted somehow.
I mean, I think it just comes down to the point that they were too real. They were too human.
Yeah.
And it becomes an issue of, are they too human to exist? In this episode, we get that really poignant conversation about what's it like to be immortal.
Yeah.
Like,
What's it like to have all the time in the world?
Exactly. And how do you regulate that? Like it's like the movie Bicentennial Man, which I know Matt, you and I discussed at one point.
Totally was thinking about that today.
And in that movie they boil it down to what differentiates robots from man is that man can die, and that's where they draw the line of giving him rights.
Yeah.
So Dorian doesn't get his own apartment. We saw that last week with the fun little weird shower room.
Yeah.
Are we going to go to the Dorian unit of measurement again?
Listen, the door is 12 Dorians away from this table, and I will throw you out of it if we sidetrack
One
this
Dorian at a
wonderful
time.
conversation. We'll just take this conversation one Dorian at a time.
Guys, you don't want to open that door.
We can't reach it. Our arms aren't that long. But Zach, your point brings me to the next topic that I really want to talk about. Is just we did have these very strong themes of immortality and technology being recycled or thrown away. And he's right. You know, the DRNs, technically, they can live forever. It seems like most androids don't live forever because they're, you know, killed somehow
By
first.
Kennex or Dorian tackling somebody.
Yeah, pretty much. But it is an interesting point, is like these guys potentially could live forever and see everything, and that sounds, it's both beautiful and horrible at the same time. That's gotta be terrifying to know that, you know, that you will never die, and that if you do something wrong or you're in pain, you will live with that pain forever.
And you get a sense of loneliness too from Dorian a lot of times, in the way he talks and acts. Like there's something, he feels like he wants a connection, but he can't quite figure out how to get it.
Especially with somebody as much empathy as he has. He does make connections to these people, and that's something to think about. If you could potentially live forever, these are people who are going to get old and die, or tragedy is going to strike. You never know when a house is going to burn down.
This is an odd connection to make, but off of that, I I want Dorian to get a girlfriend, like a human girlfriend.
Did you just get all Lord of the Rings on us here?
Why is that Lord of the Rings?
Because she gives him the necklace, and he's trying to live, and she's gonna die.
Yeah, I was just watching that literally today.
Aragorn.
Aragorn and Arwen. But man, we're going all over the place tonight. But
Thank you, Fox.
But like I want to see him grapple with those issues, and I want to see what his version of love and like a romantic love looks like, because I don't know. Aww. It's the truth, because I don't know that he has that impulse. I think he understands it to a degree, or at least understands the most basic level of it, in that, you know, he wants to see Kennex happy with Stahl, which we don't even know that they'd be good together. I mean, we have an inkling now.
They like bourbon and soccer, so
I mean, that's enough for like, you know, a couple of months, but you got to have some depth there too. I mean, they also like chasing bad guys.
Wouldn't it be funny if Dorian and Stahl ended up together?
I think that would be great.
Or Dorian and Maldonado.
Dorian and Maldonado ain't never gonna happen.
Well, it is something that the show is kind of missing right now. Like you've got the will they, won't they a little bit with Kennex and Stahl, but there's no possible triangle stuff going on.
We don't need a love triangle. We don't need a love triangle.
Let's be
we
very
need
clear.
1 and 1. We don't even have 3.
Yeah. But
Fox, do not do that, please.
Oh no.
I'm not. No suggestions.
Yeah.
Don't listen to me, Fox.
That Zach Wilson has nothing to say.
But it comes down to the point that, can Dorian connect with a human being in that way? He isn't human. Like, he's almost human. I'm going to pretend I didn't say that and move on. But he is a different species. He's a different form of life.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about it before. He comes into the world as a full-grown human. He doesn't get an adolescence. He doesn't get a childhood. And then he can live forever. His life experience is 100% different than ours. Even living in the same place as a human being, that life is totally variated from what we do.
Which brings me back to last week's episode, and we have the scientist who got killed who was trying to study these clones. No one's studying the psychology of these DRNs. They just threw them away. They just put them in a closet, instead of realizing this is a brand new form of life that we created, that's feeling like us and thinking like us, but is radically unlike us in that their life cycle is completely different and that they can live forever. And the implications of that psychologically must be astounding. It kills me that they're not studying it.
Well, people got scared, and you know what happens when people get scared?
They get violent.
Wow.
Our Stephen Lemieux from the booth. I heard it.
Sorry, guys.
Well,
I don't know if you heard it. He just did
I hate
Fresh
to
Prince.
keep quoting things, but, you know, Men in Black, a person is smart, like a psychologist, but people are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals.
Yeah.
And so when you have an administration who gets scared of these things, of course that's what they're going to do. I'm surprised they weren't flat out destroyed.
Especially with the level of crime that they're supposedly having, you know, in the cities, because it got so bad.
I wonder if the DRNs discovered police corruption and could not just be reprogrammed to forget it. Do you know what I mean?
That's a possibility.
Like an MX, you could just clear their data banks and then they'd just be a clean slate. DRNs form memories. They make connections. They feel.
And you can take those memories away, but you can't take away those feelings.
Exactly.
Like, they'd still feel like something was wrong.
Yeah.
Something would be weighing on them. So maybe that's another reason why they went quote unquote crazy.
And also, you know, having an intense feeling but not knowing why it's there could drive someone crazy.
And we do know that there's definitely corruption within the police force. We know that someone is a mole. We know that, you know, we also know from the episode with that focused on Rudy that, you know, a captain, you know, was running this drug operation.
Massive drug ring. Totally. So we've got immortality, but we also have this idea of the hearts and these synthetic body parts, you know, just being thrown away or when they could be being recycled. And we have the majority of the DRNs, which we haven't seen, and until now I just assumed were all gone, like had been taken apart for parts or whatever, but apparently being repurposed in other functions. Now, I don't know why they're being allowed to do it. I know that like a DRN being a tech is a lot less scary than a DRN carrying a gun and being programmed to, assault people, technically. But I feel like the public would still be pretty terrified knowing that these things were out there if this propaganda of these things are crazy is still out there.
Well, we still don't know what it was they did that was quote unquote crazy. It may not have been straight up violent crimes. They may not have been killing people or directly hurting people. They may have been ratting out dirty cops. And
it might have been something swept under the rug that only people in the police force know about, because it was cops that were saying that's one of the crazy ones.
Yeah, I'm very eager to see, because I'm sure we will get it at some point, the Dorian flashback episode where we see his life as a cop before he was decommissioned. And the reason why he was decommissioned.
Well, there's a lot there that they just haven't shown us. I mean, I'm assuming that there's a conspiracy. I'm going to call that right now. There's a reason, some very bad reason that they were shut down, because they're not even all aware of it. 494 actually didn't know that they had all been decommissioned because they were deemed crazy.
Yeah, because his files were 3 years old.
Yeah.
They were old, but also all of his police files were gone.
Yeah, everything was deleted.
But he wasn't even aware that they had all been turned. That was what they've been called, is crazy. There was a line at some point where he said, "I didn't know that."
Yeah.
Where Dorian is informing him about how their whole race was shut down.
Right, but my point is, when Dorian never had his police files, not just his cases, but like all of his police training, his police protocol, access to the police database. I feel like that's all stuff that he learned and he knows because he has access to the database, versus this guy who, like a computer that doesn't have internet or that hasn't been connected to the internet in years, its files are still just what it had when it was shut off. I'm sure I have an iBook from like 2007 that, its files haven't been updated ever since. Who knows what's on there?
It's an iBook. You'll never be able to update it, though.
My old poems. That's what's on there.
New mission. Find Matt's iBook.
And read poems.
Oh, my high school poetry was actually pretty atrocious. It was pretty terrible.
Love Is by Matt Lieberman.
No.
Mine still exists on the internet. I'm not going to tell you where.
Oh, I definitely still have some left on the internet, but there's one that I can't find anywhere that's probably just on that computer that's called Ode to Sad Eyes.
Oh my God.
Aww, angsty high school, Matt.
I love it. Okay.
Angsty Matt.
So I think we covered pretty much.
Yeah. Well, one thing I thought was an interesting, just little like throwaway moment was when they find the little chip on the guy and it's Bitcoin.
Yeah. On the woman.
They just make a shout out to Bitcoin still being around and still being a tool for the black market, but even more so. Like, it's portable. You have a little Bitcoin flash drive that you can carry around.
A little Bitcoin fob. Yeah.
Used to keep money in my sock, yeah.
I was just like, if I was Dorian, I would just be like, that's just such a non sequitur. You totally got lucky when you reached in there. Especially like until he reached down and grabbed the thing. I was just like, is he having like a senior moment? He's like, when I was a kid, my mother kept her money in her sock.
I think it would have been funny if he would have like, the first sock didn't have it.
What
and
did I have for lunch?
And then it was in the other sock.
Yeah. What did I have for lunch today? When I was a kid, my mom ate creamed corn.
And chewed it for me.
Okay, let's hit predictions. Pepperidge Farm remembers. Funny. Predictions? Is there a sound effect?
We can do it.
AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Yeah, I'm still not used to using this old sound effect. I like the new one.
Predictions.
Okay, so.
There we go.
Hey. Flashing lights?
Ooh, a light show.
Right? That's so much better. Why would you ever want to go back? I love seizure lights.
I didn't know that we could throw a
Apologies
raven
to
here.
anyone
This
who
is
has
awesome.
epilepsy at home.
Apologies, yeah.
If you're listening to us on the podcast, we're having strobe lights in here now.
And it's great, and we're going to maintain them through the end of this podcast. No, we're not. Okay. All right. Settle. So, What was that?
That was my stool.
That was your stool?
My foot just
Your footrest? Oh, mine fell earlier. This is a free podcast.
The ghosts are in here.
It's a
Our studio's haunted.
Free podcast.
Predictions.
Predictions. So, we saw this episode that was out of sequence. Do we know what number the next episode is? Are we heading back to episode 9?
I think it's 4.
I haven't. No,
we
I don't
watched.
know. Whatever I saw didn't have the whole.
Oh yeah, it is
Beyond
episode
this.
4 because we watched 1, 5, 6, 7, 8. I said 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I was
is
wrong.
It 1,
It's-
2, 4, 5, 6?
No, we watched 1, episode 5, which is Skin, 6, 7, 8,
Ah, okay.
3, and then I think the next one is 4. I misspoke at the top of the episode, and I apologize.
And we still haven't seen episode
forgiven.
2.
yeah.
But we'll find them all at some point.
Yeah.
After this episode, I am even more reassured about the episodes airing out of order. I think it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Might be a little bit of inconsistent. Might be fun to go back and rewatch them in the
Yeah, I
original
don't.
order.
After
but
seeing this, I don't feel like it's detrimental anymore. But it's
Suck on that,
it's
Firefly.
still knowing it. You can't like unknow it.
Yeah, but like, if you're going to do a whole run of episodes and then go back, why not do 2, 3, and 4 in order?
I don't understand why we still haven't seen 2. That makes no sense.
Well, if
to
they
me.
Is
look-
it
I mean,
bad?
I
Is
assume
it
they're-
atrocious?
I assume they're looking at them and saying they went down. They're like, all right, so we're airing these ones first, but if we're going to reorder them, this order makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm giving J.H. Wyman the benefit of the doubt.
I'm
'Cause he's great.
hoping that, because obviously there's a reason behind it. I'm hoping it's a beneficial reason and that it's not a Firefly reason.
That
I
he's
know we've
smarter
talked
than
about
us.
this before.
No, from the interview that he gave in that article that we tweeted out, it sounded like he was very much a part of this decision. That, while it's not exactly what he would want to do, he's figured out a way that he feels is not detrimental to the audience. So we have to trust the showrunner.
Do you think when they put it out on DVD, real life prediction, when they put it out on DVD, do you think they'll do it in the intended order, or do you think they'll just do it the aired order?
Some shows do, some shows don't. It remains to be seen. I know, like for example, Futurama didn't.
They had volume 4, as the DVDs call them, is split into 2 different seasons on air.
Right.
But they just aired them as they were intended to. But that wasn't a serialized show.
Right. But like, or no, they did do it in order because they had an episode that was held over for like 2 years that is put on the DVD in the correct order.
Yeah.
Some shows do, some shows don't. It remains to be seen.
We'll find out, but let's predict.
Yeah, let's predict. So, if we're seeing episode 4 next, there's still a lot of development left. I'm gonna pin this one as the Stahl and Kennex spend a lot of time together episode. Because we still haven't had that, and it's either episode 2 or episode 4. Otherwise, it makes 0 sense for Dorian to bring it up in episode 5. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like we're gonna get they're spending a lot of time together on a case episode next. That's my big prediction. I think when we get back to episode 9, I want to see Dorian have his apartment. He's beginning to discover all these things about himself. I think we've got to be getting back into Syndicate territory at some point. Because we haven't seen it since the pilot, and that's a long time.
Yeah.
It's a crazy long time for such a
Especially
big...
since this is supposed to be like the pinnacle mob mafia of the current time.
Yeah,
Right.
we haven't seen them since the pilot.
Right, like none of these crimes have been directly tied to Syndicate.
To our knowledge.
To our knowledge.
Give it time.
Right. But
Let it boil.
My
Let it
point
simmer.
is, like, you'd think we'd even get like a little like snippet at the end of an episode, like a connection, nothing. So we've got to be getting it either this week with episode 4, just like a little bit, or we're going to get it in episode 9. And again, I want to see Dorian have a romantic relationship, and I want to see the implications of that. Megan.
I don't. If we're looking back, I don't know what to expect. Like looking back a couple episodes, but I'm gonna go ahead and make a prediction. I think Syndicate had something to do with the DRNs going crazy.
I love this
And
prediction.
I'm really worried that at any point they can just flip a switch and Dorian will go nuts. That's what I'm really afraid of.
iRobot style.
Yep.
All right.
Zach, go ahead.
Well, I've been keeping track of like all the tech that we've gotten in each episode, and like so we started out with the Myclon Red, then we got the human skin, the synthetic but real skin, Palladium, the drug, the Benz. Now we've got clones, and then we've got an artificial heart. And I don't know if you guys watched the sneak peek at basically they did a sneak peek at the rest of the season.
I didn't see it
on air.
No, I missed it
There's
too.
some really interesting stuff in there because it's really all just flashes of stuff, and they showed what I believe is going to be the first generation of androids because it doesn't have any skin. It's just silver and it's got a big red light in its forehead. Looks really cool. And there's a moment where we meet the scientist who invented the DRNs.
Yeah, his creator.
So we're going to get to meet him, and he says, you have to stab the robot in the back of the neck with this. And we see Kennex, or I think it was Kennex, jumping towards some woman. So it looks like we're finally going to meet a female android.
Great.
So
That would be great, yeah.
I'm assuming that all of these pieces, the biomech heart, the skin, is all building towards some new level of android that is going to be working for Syndicate.
We're gonna learn that Anna was an android the whole time.
Bum, bum,
Yes.
bum.
She was a sexy android. Yeah, sexy android plant who, had human DNA and he didn't even know about it, and it's totally gonna blow Kennex's mind, and he's never gonna be able to trust anyone ever again.
Just
ever,
like
ever.
she blew his mind.
What up?
But
Oh, I give that joke 2.5 Dorian.
I'll take it.
All right. I hope we see some more of the Syndicate as well. That's what I'm looking for. I want to see. I like the idea of them potentially being behind everything, and them even decommissioning the DRNs, and that they're so powerful that we don't even know how powerful they are. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping for that.
Great.
So,
Wouldn't it be funny if they were just a group of schmucks who really didn't know what they were doing?
Right, like they just got in too deep. Like they just wanted a couple things of Myclon Red, and then suddenly cops everywhere, and
the
they're
whole
like,
world went
"Eh."
down the toilet.
We were
Yeah.
just trying to cure cancer.
Yeah.
All right.
We just wanted to cure future cancer. What's up with that?
What's up with that?
What's up with that?
Won't be
How have
wrong.
we not cured it yet?
These guys over here.
These
over there.
wise android guys.
Matt, since you gave us a lovely introduction, tell us where we can find you, the often duplicated but never imitated.
Whoa.
Matt
I
Lieberman.
always say where you can find me last.
Okay, fine. Go last. I
Yeah.
just wanted to give you a nice
No, it's
send-off.
fine. You can find me on the Twitter at Matt Lieberman. That's MattLieberman. You can find me on Instagram at Matty Lieberman with a Y. You'll see fun pictures and videos of me taking stuff because I'm sick. Yeah.
The new gel in the hair. looking
Oh
nice.
yeah, no, I look very dapper. You can also find me here on AfterBuzz TV on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Sleepy Hollow, Betas, which is a great show you should be watching on Amazon, and a bunch of new shows in January. Stay tuned. Megan Salinas, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at The Menguin, and that's TheMenguin, and I'm also on the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. AfterBuzz.
Great, Ryan.
Hey, you can find me at RyanHooks92 on the Twitter, on the Facebook, on the Instagram, on the Snapchat, on the Yahoo.
Do you
Pretty
get
much all the
people
above.
Snapchatting
You know what? I got some Snapchats from people.
And his sexy Snapchat.
Bow, chicka,
Not from
wow,
fans
wow.
yet. I'm looking forward to a Zach Wilson Snapchat. Hey.
Well, guys, you can find me
Blushing.
on Twitter and Instagram at @ZachWilson, ThatZachWilson.
All right, thanks everybody.
Thank
We
you.
will see you in January.
Yeah,
in the new
3
year.
weeks off.
Back on
All right.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.